What's up, guys? Welcome to the Coach Z Athletics podcast in association with Kelly College Consulting TX.com. We're super excited, like we do every single week. We're coming at you with tips and tricks to help you young high school recruits, parents, and as well as coaches get you those opportunities that you've never thought that maybe you could get. We want to give you some tips and tricks to get you to that opportunity, make it a little bit easier than maybe you, like I said, thought you would, otherwise. So anyway, but like we always like to start this off, Coach Kelly, what's going on?
Hey, not much, man. Just enjoying it down here in Dallas. Hey, it's a little bit cooler now. It's in the 80s, which is great. Not in the 90s and 100s anymore. So yeah, I'm certainly enjoying it now. Looking forward to this episode. I think we got some good content.
Always turns over, man. Once you get to that September, October, November time, it starts to go from triple digits down to the 90s and 80s real quick. Yeah. So listen, we want to talk specifically to you young student athletes, parents, as well as coaches about what I like to call athletic profile. Coach Kelly calls it your athletic resume. We want to dig in specifically about social media profiles because as of right now, you young student athletes in the sport of football specifically, you're in week 3, maybe week 4, and maybe some states are even, deeper into the season. But with that said, it is all about getting your highlights out, getting them out now, and putting them in a position to where they can be the most exciting and really draw the attention of, these college recruiters. Because as you can see, if you go on social media, specifically Twitter, where all these coaches are on, they're talking about sending out invites right now. Drop your name, drop your information. Coaches are really starting to get after this recruitment process and get your name in the database and evaluate all your information, your highlights, all that kind of good stuff. And so first and foremost, I want to talk about your athletic profile, AKA athletic resume, what that is, and then we'll get into the social media aspect of it. So I do have a slide right here. So if you look, the first thing is, sorry, the format's a little bit off, but if you look at it right away, you see personal information. Now keep in mind, so with this right here, I would just say, make sure and have it somewhere. It could be in a Word document. It could be in an Excel document. Don't have it just in your brain, because this is something you need to have almost right away. If a coach comes and either texts you, calls you, DMs you, however, you need to make sure and have it in some format, PDF format, to where you can actually send it to a coach right then, right there. So you always want to make sure with your athletic profile, AKA athletic resume, you want to make sure you have your personal information on there. Always have height, weight, your full name, and information like your graduation year. That's really important. High school you play for. Second thing is athletic information, as you can see on there, specific stats. I would not go crazy on that. Coaches don't really, your stats, they're going to know about you as they get going. So you're not really going to win them over necessarily, in my opinion, with a lot of stats. But making sure you have your highlights on there, a couple pieces of key achievements. Next thing is academic information, your GPA, SAT, ACT, and your transcript. Make sure that you have that in hand and available. Next thing would be physical attributes, your height, weight, speed, and other relevant things that would be about your physical stature. You can always throw in there, your bench, your squat, some of the things like that, 40 time. That is always a really, in my opinion, if a coach sees that you run a 4.4, 4.3, 4.2, whatever, 4.6, depending on your position, that could really open, a coach's eyes for sure. Next thing is coach's information. Make sure you always have your coach's information, their email, and their cell phone, and always have that. Next thing is I always say this, a personal statement. And this is really good when you're writing out your emails, letting these coaches know how you can benefit their programs. I don't see this a lot when a coach or a young student athlete will actually send an email to me, or when I was actually coaching, I would never see this, but every once in a while, when I will see a kid have something similar and of how, I can benefit your program, I really, really get triggered in that. I love it. So that's always something to add in there. And of course, your NCAA eligibility information, NCAA ID, and that whole thing. You want to make sure you have that on there, because coaches have to use that to give you money, give you scholarships, give you money, all that kind of stuff. And so, Coach, did you want to add anything to this?
No, you know what? I had a copy of an athletic resume, and to be honest with you, it includes pretty much all of these same components. I mean, so this is spot on. A couple things I want to add is just make sure that number one, you now this athletic profile, this is a working document as well. You know, because a lot of this information can change. You know, obviously, if your height, weight, speed, 40 time, vertical leap in terms of we're looking at the physical attributes now. Those are things you also should include, but those things can change. You know, you can grow, you can get bigger, get stronger. You know, obviously your GPA, class rank, those things can go up. You know, standardized tests, ACT, SAT, you may be able to take it again and get a higher score. So keep in mind that whenever some information changes, you need to update this profile and also make sure that you have accurate information on here. All right. Don't put on here that you're 6'4", 230 when you're 6'2", 215. You know what I mean? So make sure you have that accurate physical information. And then also under GPA, you may want to have your regular GPA and then your core course GPA, because that's also very important. So you may want to include that. But then obviously the contact information is very important. And then within the contact information, you may want to put the number and maybe the social media handle or the Twitter handle for maybe your coach too. That way there's another avenue to be to get in contact with a coach that can advocate for you as a student athlete. And then also, having that NCAA eligibility number is important as well, because coaches want to know that you're eligible. Coaches want to know that you're solid academically. And they want to know that you went through the NCAA eligibility center and that you're legitimate. So all of these are really, really good. If you have an athletic profile with these components, a coach will be able to know everything that they can about you from this.
Yeah, and maybe down the road, I'll put together maybe a template where I could send out to you young student athletes where you can actually download it and put it in, all your information in there. But for now, I think one of the best things you can do, and Coach Kelly has I love what you just said about it being a working document. So, throughout the whole progression of you getting recruited, you want to make sure and you update this, but you want to make sure that you have it somewhere. Right. So you're constantly updating it through. It's just like it's a resume, right? So
exactly.
We'll just say us in the adult world. Some of you young student athletes obviously are going through being somebody working and doing whatever, but you want to constantly be updating your references and updating, your work history and all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to time, you don't have to do all of that. So when all of a sudden somebody reaches out and says, "Hey, we'd love to have you, but we want to see kind of your history and all that kind of good stuff," that is really a big key. And then the second thing is I want to talk, and sorry, I got to go through this nice and Okay. So let's go to Twitter. So this also applies to Instagram. I want to say that multiple times. This is Twitter, but it also applies to Instagram and other social media handles. The reason that these social media, they have a box just for your personal information so people can find you, so people can understand what you got going on and who you are. And so basically what I want to say is that with this, make sure and dial all this in, because coaches don't have a lot of time, but when they do come across your information, they may see it and be like, "Oh my gosh," and they'll message you right then and there. Like I said before, with highlights, coaches love watching highlights at any moment in time. They could be giving birth to a kid. They could be waiting to walk down the aisle. Coaches love watching film, but they also love going through looking for recruits. And if they see somebody on there that's 6'2", 230 linebacker that runs a 4.5, holy smokes, they're going to be super excited. It's going to trigger them. They're going to find a way to reach out to boom, boom, boom before I walk out. But you have to have it right there to really catch their eye when they come onto your profiles. Now, so I want to go over, shout out Mason Walsh and Gavin, two dudes locally, good players, but I feel like they've got some good things dialed in with their profiles. So let me just break this down real fast. So number one, they've got a good avatar of them actually playing the sport, wearing their jersey or something of that nature. Don't have anything with you, explicit content, guns, drugs, all that stuff, which happens all the time. Notice they also have their full name on there. There's no T-Money. There's no anything. This is their actual name. Coach Kelly was mentioning that earlier. You want to make sure you want to have their actual information on there. The handle's good. You can always go in there and change your handle, but you want to make it as close to your name as possible. As you notice, these guys both have the high school. They have their graduation year. They have the specifics with the position they play, GPA. Notice dual threat. That's always a good little piece to throw in there. Yeah, team captain. I'm telling you, I saw this and I was going down Mason's information. I saw team captain, and obviously I'm excited because he's a QB and it looks good and all that. Once you put in their team, something like team captain, I'm in. And then also he's got dual sport. Notice he didn't even have to put dual threat or dual sport, anything like that. At the bottom, you can put the emojis, man. Football, basketball. Coach will just naturally think he's a dual sport athlete. And so I love that. And I know Coach Kelly loves that because it tells me that not only do you not specialize in a sport, but you also have some skills outside of that. Because if you play multiple sports, man, you play basketball, baseball, football, baseball, whatever, you're going to have, I just love that. He puts on there, first team all league. But he also, I had to black it out, but he's got his contact information on there. Some like to put their email on there. I think you got some space on there to do that. But also one thing that Gavin did 100% correct. And by the way, I didn't tell him this. He already did it. So shout out Gavin on this, but NCAA ID information, whammo, you got everything right there. Coach would just say, hey, graduate assistant, check out this guy. He's a good guy. Put all of his information in there and then locked in. Here's one thing I will say not to put on there. You don't want to put too much fluff. Listen, I'm a Christian. I get it. You want to throw it out there, but don't put all the scriptures and believers and stuff. I know I'm gonna get some flack for this, but it doesn't help you. If anything, can distract from a coach actually getting to the point. Okay. And then I would say the last thing is with your profile. Notice on the bottom here, I'm going to circle this right down here. See where it says pinned, right? You look at the bottom, it says pinned. So Twitter, AKA X, vice versa, as well as Instagram, they have spots where you can pin a post. You want to make sure and pin your updated highlights on the post, not a full highlight. A coach will never, even if a coach gets past the first 3 clips, they're not going more than a minute or a minute and a half, unless they're at the Grand Canyon and their kids are driving them crazy and they need more time to just sit there and kill time. So, so make sure during this season right now, if you have not done it, get your butts in gear. Like I said, you guys should already be at week 3 by now. Dial it in. If you have any questions on that, what to put on there and what should go first, whatever, reach out to me and Coach Kelly, and we'll talk about that. And I have looked at films recently. Me and Coach Kelly off camera, we're talking about this, and I've had kids rearrange some of their clips to where it's more exciting and where it shows more versatility specific to that position. And I think that is key. And so listen, to land the plane from my point of view, and I'm going to give Coach Kelly the floor here. When you're dealing with your social media handles, look at this, take a screenshot. I don't care what you got to do. These are really, really good. Not everybody's the same. Not all coaches are the same, but when they have all their core information on here, they have their opportunity pretty close to being locked in. So when a coach comes and says, hey, I'm interested, they've got it right in front of them. Okay. So anyway, so Coach Kelly, you got it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Hey, and these, I mean, it's not much I can add. These are 2. If I had to grade these 2 Twitter or X profiles, I would say both of them are either an A or A minus. Definitely. They're both, at the top of the line in terms of having all the information that's relevant. I would say one thing is Gavin has his email address down there. That's something good that Mason doesn't have. But then Mason has his, as you mentioned, Mason has his highlights pinned at the top, and Gavin doesn't. So that's something that's key. Is you want to have your highlights, your most recent or your best highlights, you want to have them pinned, and you want to have your email address. So like Gavin, for example, has his email address and his NCAA ID. Mason doesn't have those 2 things, which, it's not 100% necessary to have your email because you have if you have your DMs open. Now, if your DMs are not open, you better have your email because the coach needs a way to get in contact with you. So either you need to have your email or have your DMs open, or having both of them is good. And then having your NCAA ID is good because then again, the coach can check your grades and check you out as a student. And, kind of what you said about how he put, the scripture on here, I would just say that's a personal preference thing. You know what I mean? Because obviously, if you are, if you are a Christian, if you have faith, I mean, that's obviously, you're obviously not trying to hide that. You want to let people know, but you also want to You don't want to necessarily rub anybody the wrong way, or you don't want to eliminate any potential schools that may be interested in you because of that. So, kind of whatever you feel. I'm on the, I don't necessarily have a definitive opinion one way about that. But what I will say is both of these Twitter profiles are really good. I like how both of these guys have action photos of themselves, and then they have more team-oriented pictures in the background. I think that's a really good thing as well. So I think both of these Twitter profiles are done really well, and I think any student athlete would be smart to follow what these two guys have in their profile.
And yeah, that's a really good point. So listen, I was going to bring this up as a pro tip, for me and Coach Kelly, that if you really are dialed in and you've decided, hey, I want to go and I want to pursue this next level thing, get all the, so if you look at let me just circle it real quick. You have your following and you have your followers on both sides, right? Your whole followers and following can either distract you or not, right? And so I'm a big believer in getting all your distractions away, because obviously we're not going down their timeline or anything, but if you have people on there that are going to distract from your actual goals and what you're wanting to do, that becomes a problem. Let's be honest. Most of what's on timelines is just a total distraction, and it really has nothing to do with your goals. I get it. You got some friends or whoever on there, but if it truly is somebody that you don't know and it's a distraction, get them off there and go find all those college coaches that are in your wavelength, like guys, or that you're wanting to go and play for their school and however you want to do it. Put them on your followers and your following list. Because eventually they're going to follow you, which means you can, create dialogue with them, but they will be on everything and you'll know everything about the school. So when they do reach out to you, all of a sudden now you have something to talk about. Oh yeah. How about that invite? Or, talk about week 3 and how they blew out a team or whatever. So now you have some bullets in the chamber to where you can actually, dig into conversation with these coaches, and coaches love that, especially, if you're really meeting with them and you have that point where they ask you if you have any questions, you'll have questions. So it just gives you a leg up, man. I think that's one of the things that's very underlooked and underappreciated in this whole recruiting process. So, dial in your followers and your following, no distractions, and make it happen. Coach Kelly, you got the final word. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Well, what I'll say is, no, this is very good. I think any student athlete would be wise to have them take a screenshot of these Twitter profiles, and then take a screenshot of what that student athlete resume should look like. Because every student athlete during the process should have an updated Twitter profile. And again, another comment, I guess it's the same, but you know how we mentioned that resume or that profile that you put up is a working document. Yeah. Again, your Twitter profile needs to be updated consistently. If you have a change in, your height, your weight, your statistics, your whatever the case is, your GPA, if you have new highlights, you need to consistently put them on there as well. So your Twitter profile needs to be something that you're consistently updating and putting fresh, current information on.
Yeah. That's very good. And listen, I'm telling you guys right now, if you guys are paying attention to what we've got going on, listen, make sure and subscribe, like, share everything that we're all about. And it's all about you guys, right? And putting you in a position to get that opportunity. And I promise you, if you dial in 2 out of maybe the 5 things that we're talking about, you are going to put yourself way ahead of the game versus your, competitors or anybody that may be getting a little bit of looks here and there from these college coaches. You young student athletes just don't know. But listen, you don't have a lot of time either. So, or if it's you parents, listen, get your young student athlete, get them dialed in, and we want to give you the most opportunity as possible, because there's schools out there that are going to need players. I promise you, and they're going to need them all throughout the year now that we got the portal going on. So I'll land the plane this way. Like we always finish our podcast. We do this every single week. Listen, reach out, coachzathletics.com, Kelly College Consult, Kelly College Consulting TX.com. You may see him. Coach Kelly does a lot of in-person seminars. He's doing it throughout the entire country. And if you do have the opportunity and are blessed to get in front of Coach Kelly, definitely ask him as many questions as you possibly can. That is Kelly College Consulting TX.com. And he's going to get you right. So we always like to end the podcast this way every single week. It's not about me or Coach Kelly. It's about you guys. We'll see you guys on the next podcast.